Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Colleen and I am really happy that you've all joined me here today. I don't know about you guys, but where we live in the world, our grocery prices have really skyrocketed in the past couple of years. Even in the last 6 months, it's you can see a change almost every time you go to the grocery store. So I am feeling like I need to go back to some of the ways that we used to save money years ago, before, when we had small children in the house and those extra mouths to feed and you had to make things stretch or work for you. You shopped sales and you couponed and you did all the things to help your growing family. Well, now I know that many of my viewers are seniors like myself, and they still need, because a lot of us are on fixed incomes, and we still need to be looking for better deals than we've been getting. So there are a few ways we can help ourselves, and some of them may seem daunting. But with just a little bit of coaching, I think this is something that everyone can do. So today I'm going to lead you through the steps of breaking down a pork loin, the big loins that you see at the grocery store, and we will be able then to really save a lot of money and have the portion sizes exactly what we need. So I'm going to gather up the loin and the few pieces of equipment that I need, and I will be right back after this and we'll get started. Now there's not an awful lot that we need for this process. I'm just going to grab some bags. So I've got some freezer bags here. I've got a knife. It's not a very sharp knife. It's been a while since I've had this taken away and sharpened properly, and man, it's not sharp, so this could be a bit of a job in itself. But I'm sure that probably 50% of you don't have a sharp knife either, so we work with what we have. That's what we do. I've got a felt marker, or Sharpie, to put information on the bag so I know what's in them. And then I have a pork loin. Now you've probably seen these big pork loins. This isn't a particularly big one, but pork loins in the grocery store. And you thought to yourself, wow, I could never use that all up before it went bad. So this is where maybe some little lessons and tips can help you out, and I think that we can cut this up into probably 4 or 5 meals for us. There's 2 of us most of the time, and there's 3 of us some of the time. We have our 16-year-old niece living with us, and she isn't always here for dinner. So that's why I say that. This is also a really good way to save money, because we are buying what they call a primal pack, which means it's still one big piece of meat and it hasn't been portioned out. And when you buy the primal packs, whether it be chicken thighs are a really good way to save money. Whether it be a brisket that you break down yourself, or pork loin like this, the amount that they charge you for the pork loin is the primal, or so the bottom amount, because they haven't had to process it and put all that extra time into it. But the amount of time that we're going to put in it isn't significant, so I just want you to follow along. I'm really truly shocked at how much meat costs these days, and in Canada where we are, our dollar doesn't go nearly as far as our American friends. So I think the Canadian dollar right now, for us to go to the bank and buy the Canadian dollar is about by the American dollar, our Canadian dollar is around 72 cents. So we're already losing right there, and our grocery costs are much higher. So I'm going to just grab my phone and I'm going to break this down. Oh, maybe I can do a rough kind of math. So this price per unit is $8.80 a kilogram, and this is 2.388 kilograms. No, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to ask Google to help us figure out what that is in pounds. So we have 8.80 kilograms to pounds. Well, I obviously did that wrong. That's the price per unit, sorry. So we have 2.388 kilograms to pounds. So this is 5.26 pounds, so 5¼ pounds of meat that we have here. Now, you want to check when you pick it up in the grocery store, just pick it up and give it one of these, turn it from side to side. You want to be sure that there are no pinholes in this bag, because that will mean that the meat inside could have been subjected to all kinds of bacteria. Although I trust our grocery stores to take really good care of the food that we buy, these sneaky things can happen to them. So even if a pinhole got in it, could be a problem. So I'm going to take this out over my sink. I'm just going to cut this off with the scissors, my kitchen scissors. And then I'm going to take it to the sink because it's got lots of juice on it and I want to get rid of that. I'll pat it dry or drier with a paper towel, and then I'll come back and we'll get started. Okay, when you take them out of those cryovac bags, they definitely stretch out a little bit. I'm just going to peel this away. If you don't like to handle raw meat with your hands, then definitely put some gloves on. And be very mindful of anything that you might touch while you are working with this raw meat, because it will have to be sanitized. Pork and chicken are two of the things that we need to be mindful of that as we cook with them and as we cut them as raw in our kitchens. So, okay, so the ends of these, one of them is kind of a skinny end, and you'll notice maybe that the meat is a lighter color on this end than it is on this end. This means that this muscle worked a little more than this muscle did. And this is the loin, so the part on the back ribs of the animal. And I like to always flip them over and work on the side that's got the fat cap on it. Now I know that this side over here is going to be a roast. So I'm thinking roast for the two of us, we only need that much. There you go. So we have a roast. And we'll have a roast and maybe even a little leftover. I also, if you have a look at this now, I'm going to start cutting the smaller pork chops and so forth. So I'm going to move the camera so that you can see what I'm doing, so that it helps to make sense. There, hopefully that helps you out so that you can see it a little better. Now I've got the loin here, and I am going to cut pork chops for us, and I'm going to cut them about 1 inch. And Let's see, maybe we'll cut 6 of them. This is 3. And once you've done this once or twice and your confidence is up, then you can really go to town on this. And you don't have to worry about ruining the meat. There is always a way to use up this meat. So I'm actually going to, it actually looks like I'm going to get more out of this than I had even guesstimated. So I'm going to turn this around now. This is still the loin end that I was taking the pork chops off of. But this beautiful end over here that has the darker meat running into it, you can see this right here. This is the darker meat running in. I'm going to cut some of this off. I usually square the ends off, but this one's pretty good. And I am going to make some cubes for sweet and sour pork. And we don't need a ton. I think I'll cut 3 loin pieces for that. And now I'm just going to cut these up. Now I should say, while I don't have a set recipe to share with you today, I will link recipes in the description box below this video. So if you get your loin all cut up and then you're curious as to what was she talking about when she said sweet and sour pork, there will be a recipe link. It won't be my recipe, but there will be a recipe link for you to follow below. Now this is definitely probably more than we would need for a batch of sweet and sour pork, but we don't mind leftovers in this house, and I use them a lot for my husband's lunch. So there we have a batch of sweet and sour pork. Just going to add it over here. And then I'm going to turn this back over, and we still have the 2 colors of meat, the darker and the lighter. And these work really well for, well, just about anything. The dark meat has a little more flavor than the loin, the lighter loin, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to go back over here, and I am going to cut, whoops, forgot what I was doing. I'm going to cut some thinner chops, and I'm doing this because I will use these thinner ones and pound them out and bread them. So there you go. They don't have to be very thick for this, and if you're going to pound them out and bread them, then you're going to do the traditional pound them thin with your meat mallet or your rolling pin with a piece of plastic wrap over top of it. And once you've got them pounded out so that they're very thin, you're going to coat them with flour and then into an egg wash and then into panko breadcrumbs and then fry them in some oil in a pan. And they're delicious. Now, I've got 2 more meals here. And this last little bit, I am going to leave for another roast. So let's just move this out of the way. I'll wash my hands. Well, I won't even wash my hands. I'll move that out of the way. And let's recap what we've got going on here. So I have 2 roasts. I have 2 meals of pounded pork cutlets. So that's 4 meals. I have a 5th meal because I have this pork that's cubed for sweet and sour pork. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good-sized pork chops. So if there's just my husband and I, then we only need 2 pork chops per meal. But I'm gonna guess that Peyton may be here a couple of evenings, so I'm gonna make this 2 meals as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've gotten 7 meals out of this one smallish pork loin, which I think is pretty fantastic. Now we paid $8. I should get the phone back out again. We paid $8.80 a kilogram for this, and this total came to $21. So 21 divided by 7 makes this about, I guess if I'm doing my math correctly, makes it about $3 a meal for the protein part of the meal. And I think that's a really good value. I am looking forward to cooking it and working with it. And I know now that I have 7 meals in my freezer that will serve us for a while. So I'm going to wash my hands, show you how I bag this up, and then we'll be on our, hopefully this will give you enough courage to go ahead and do something like this yourself. Now, I have these Ziploc, and I'm going to name the brand because I like their freezer bags. I don't think this is a good time to use your bargain brand freezer bags. I would use something like the Ziploc that has heavier, it's heavier and has good opening and closing methods, and you can definitely get them airtight. So in this first one, I'm just going to add pork roast, and today's date, what is today's date? I think it's October the 16th, 24, and I would just do a pile of them so that I only have to get my hands dirty the one time. And while I'm working on this, I am going to just say that we tend to allow our pork to blush. So we don't overcook it. Today we know that pork is raised differently than it used to be. So there are a lot less chances of any kind of problem. Used to be, we lived on a farm, and as we lived on a farm, we fed the animals, the pigs, anything that came out of the house. So that would mean meat, vegetables, leftover bread, whatever came out of the house that we couldn't repurpose in another way, we would feed to the pigs. And they could get different kinds of diseases that they would pass on to human beings. So today, they're not fed that way anymore. It's very controlled, the meat that's produced for us today. So we don't have to have the same concerns about the meat and how we cook it. That being said, I use a meat thermometer when I cook pork. And one of the reasons I do is because I don't want it to be overcooked. And I cook the pork to an internal temperature of 155. And then I take it out of the oven, and I always allow for the meat to relax, because pork, and especially pork loin, because it is so low in fat, it's so lean, that it needs time for the juices to be pulled back into the meat. So let it relax. If I'm cooking this roast right here, I will put it in the oven. I'll bring it to the internal temperature of 155 degrees. or 150 degrees, sorry. And then I will bring it out and I will set it aside, covered, lightly covered. I usually just put a piece of tin foil over it or aluminum foil. And I will allow, then I turn on the potatoes because I allow it to rest about 20 minutes. And that allows it time for it to relax. And I don't know a good way really to explain it, but if you've ever put a piece of meat into the pan that was really thin, you can watch right away it goes like this. It definitely, the heat causes it to contract. And if you then leave it, finish cooking it, set it aside, it has a chance to relax and those fibers spread out again. So that's what we want to do with pork, and especially this lean pork. I hope that makes sense. Sweet and sour pork. Let's see where I am. Well, I've been talking away. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Pork chops, pork cutlets, pork cutlets. You determined there was 2 there. Let me see. Roast, cutlets, chops, and, oh, that's sweet and sour, and pork chops. You can, really help yourself out by doing this, because the difference that they charge you for them to do it, and we've literally done it. I'm going to assume that this video, it hasn't gone on for 20 minutes. So a lot of that's just been me talking and hand gesturing apparently. So you could literally take this out of the packaging and cut it up and have it put into the bags and put away in 15 minutes, and you've saved yourself a lot of cash doing so. So let's package it up. I'm going to add the sweet and sour to the bag first, and it's important how we treat this. So I'm going to flatten out as much as I can. We want to get as much air out of it as possible. Then you're going to fold that over and make sure that the air is out, and then you're going to close it up. Now I've got my mucky hands all over this, so I'm going to have to wipe these bags down, but there you go. Keep it nice and flat. And these Ziploc bags really do work well for that. Also, a little tip that may help you out as far as if you're worried about the amount of time that this meat may be in the freezer and that you're worried about freezer burn on the meat, then consider whether or not you're the kind of person that's good about taking meat out the night before. And if you are, then fill the bag, cover the meat with water, just like I'm going to show you right here. Just put water in the bag, fold the bag over, get the bag closed. That's where these better bags come in. And now your pork chops are sitting in water. So freezer burn is not going to be able to get to the pork chop. You could have it in there for some time. If you're, not the kind of person who, because you need to be a planner in order to do this, because if you take it out the night before and you put it into the fridge to thaw, this allows for time for that water to thaw. If you're not a planner, then you may just have to get up first thing in the morning and get your pork chops out and use them up quicker so that they don't have a chance to freezer burn. Okay, and I'm making all of these packages as flat as I can, just thinking about the space that people have in their refrigerator freezers, because not everybody has a meat freezer. So I'm aware of that. So you definitely can still do this if you only have a refrigerator freezer. And there we go, even with the water in. So this is for a pork roast. And I haven't quit thinking about the amount of air that's in the bags. Get them all done. And look at us go. This one's a little bigger, so that'll be for a night when Peyton's at home. Get the air out. And then we've got these 2 bags for cutlets. And I will flatten them out as much as possible too. Now, I started to talk a little bit about one of the other pieces or other meats that you can see makes a huge difference if you break it down yourself, is chicken thighs. When I looked at chicken thighs in the store yesterday, when I was thinking about doing this today and I was picking up the pork loin, I had a look, and the difference is staggering actually. If you've got the dexterity in your hands and a reasonably sharp knife, you can definitely peel that skin off those chicken thighs and debone them yourself rather than putting out the extra money to have somebody else do it for you. When I was looking yesterday, there was a difference of $11 a kilogram between the chicken thighs that had been deboned and the skins removed over the ones that had been left whole. That's a lot. So you could really save yourself by taking the time to do that. And even better is to buy chicken legs with the thighs attached. Break that in half. And there's videos out there, and if you needed to see one, I could do this to show you how that can be done. But remove the leg from the thigh and package the thighs together, unless you want a mix of chicken for whatever reason. My husband likes the drumsticks, but I'm not a super big fan of a drumstick, so I prefer the thighs. So I will cut some and package them as if we were going to share a meal, so that there's drumsticks for him and thighs for me. But then you can carry it that extra step if you want to have boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And I like to have them for lots of different recipes. So I definitely think that there are ways that you can help yourself to save money. And Lord knows we all need to be figuring out ways to save money on food costs right now. So folks, I hope you found this video a little bit interesting. Even I know it's not my regular kind of video, and you didn't get a recipe from me out of it today, although I will have recipes linked in the description box below, so that you have some different ideas about what you can do with these various cuts of meat that we've just cut here off of this pork loin. And I'm thrilled that I'm going to be able to feed my family, as small as it is, to feed my family for $3 a meal. I think that is, for protein, that's a fantastic price. So I hope your week is going well, and I love you all, and thank you for being here with me. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and coming back week after week. You mean the world to me, and I hope that I will see you again soon on the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.